Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening, everybody. Thank you for tuning into another Supatease video. And did you think the changes were done? Because I thought the changes were done after that PTR release candidate build, but I was wrong. And some specializations are getting absolutely thrashed in this round of changes that really don't deserve it. So if you want to make sure that you're staying up to date to the changes, make sure to smash that subscribe button because they seemingly can happen at any time in any moment to any spec, and your support is greatly appreciated. So some of the first changes coming through are targeted towards the new solo shuffle battleground feature, which is going to be the first iteration of ranked solo queue for Battlegrounds. So it's really important that you guys spam play it if you want it in the testing phase to make sure it can get fine-tuned and to show that it is desired amongst the community so that it can become a full-fledged feature, likely, moving into the next expansion. But the first couple of big changes for it are going to be that Arathi Basin Deep Wind Gorge resource acquisition is increased to 7, 10, 15, 50, and 65 for bases held. It was previously 7, 10, 13, and 20, and 80. So it's going to be, it's a little bit lower on the top end, but it's a little bit higher in the mid end. I don't know what the overall effect of this is going to be for Arathi Basin, whether or not they're trying to shorten or extend the duration of the game with this change. For Eye of the Storm, resource acquisition has changed to 7 and 15 for bases held, was previously 5 and 12. So again, I'm assuming this is speeding up. They likely want to make this fast because it's just all about getting in. It's a blitz. So I'm going to go on the assumption that this is an attempt to make it faster. For Into the Shadows, movement speed has increased to 100%, up from 50%. Into the Shadows, is this the mount buff? Are we really going to be moving that fast? I can't imagine that's what it's going to be. This has to be like a power up, a new power up, I would think. In general, it seems like the Battleground changes are aimed at speeding up the matches in this round of testing moving forward. For classes, developers notes, in addition to the below changes, there will be additional tuning changes planned that will be applied to the PTR over the course of this week. So there's going to be even more. Just letting you guys know, it looks like there's going to be even more. For Demon Hunter, Immolation Aura is receiving an 8% nerf, and Sigil of Flame duration is being increased by 2 seconds. For Havoc specifically, Demon Hide magic damage bonus is reduced to 4%, it was previously 5. So some minor nerfs to Demon Hunter, likely going to be felt more in Mythic Plus environments, but potentially on Immolation Aura builds as well. Seeming since the rework, there's a lot of talents for Immolation Aura, so maybe those talents are likely going to be avoided. I still think Demon Hunter is going to be one of the best specs. It's totally off base with my prediction earlier. Having tested it recently, it's easily one of the best specs in the game with 2-minute metamorphosis and the ability to kind of blade dance and throw glaives out while you're blade dancing. Means you basically can save a global cooldown on using throw glaive as a separated ability. It's absolutely crazy, and its self-sustain is still really high even despite the changes to Fodder of the Flame. So don't take these nerfs pretty lightly for Demon Hunter, especially Havoc. It's in PvP because it's definitely still going to be a monster. For Discipline Priest, we've got changes targeted around saying that we are happy with Discipline Priest healing throughput in Guardians of the Dream, but their damage contribution, particularly in raid encounters, is higher than we'd like. As a result, we're lowering their overall damage and increasing their atonement to compensate. In addition, we are slightly increasing the damage of Shadowward Pain, Purge the Wicked, to ensure they continue to be used in single target situations. So all damage is being nerfed by 9%, Atonement Healing is getting buffed by 9%, Purge the Wicked is getting a small buff of 5%, and Shadowward Pain is getting a buff of 10. Now you're likely always playing Purge the Wicked. Some people seem to think that I've overranked Discipline Priest in my most recent tier list, which I'll have linked at the end of this one for healers. But I think it's likely to still possibly be a powerhouse, especially with shaving down the number of abilities that it has. It basically lets you ramp up a lot faster, and you've got a lot more recoverability than you've had in the previous patches. It's going to be a lot more accessible of a specialization. So this just seems like a rearrange for raid that's likely not going to move its position too much from where it's currently assessed at in PvP, but it's definitely a specialization that I would shout out to check out. Like I already thought Discipline Priest was really good. Now it's going to be super new player, not really good in the sense of being overpowered, but really good in the sense of being a lot of fun, especially if you're a DPS main and you're looking for faster queues, because it can function a lot like that role in the way that it's played, and it's likely to be a lot more viable. Now for Outlaw Rogue, this is the one that I was talking about. You guys are just getting devastated, dude. Just completely devastated. They've purged and pruned Find Weakness, which was the one thing that allowed you to get armor penetration and cut through high armor targets. That's gone. You're basically useless now against any sort of high armor targets or plate classes. Your battleground damage is pathetically low, and even with the buffs to Killing Spree, it's not it's not great damage, and it's one of the easiest damaging cooldowns to stop in the game because you can be CC'd on it. So Outlaw Rogue is looking like it's in an abysmal position here. No matter what content you're doing, likely maybe 2v2. It's still going to have a place, but I'm going to expect that even Subtlety would dwarf it there. And Assassination is going to be doing the most damage in Battlegrounds out of all three of the Rogue specializations. So it really feels bad for Outlaw Rogue right now in the patch. I don't know if there's a way that they can get Find Weakness back, because I was really happy with the change that they made. So now when you're proccing Ambush, it's going to replace Sinister Strike and cut down on a keybind and be feeling a lot more smooth. But then removing Find Weakness is now just mean that you've got like no opportunities in competitive PvP, and its damage in PvP is already the lowest, and nerfing it overall by 6% is going to really hurt. Now, Arms Warrior is getting a buff that I am surprised that they did not counteract in PvP. They're buffing Mortal Strike damage by 10%, and they're buffing Overpower damage by 10%. These abilities were already significantly, your highest damage output. Arms Warrior is getting some of the most bonkers honor talents with the ability to get Safeguard, which is going to give you 2 charges of Intervene with, I think, a 10-second longer cooldown. But you're going to also apply 20% damage reduction to the target for around 5 seconds. So you're going to bark skin your allies, and you'll have 2 charges of it. Like that talent alone made Arms Warrior the Omega overpowered spec in the beginning of Shadowlands, to where everybody was a warrior with that talent alone, let alone the other added effects that Arms Warrior is getting in on this patch. It's set bonus damage output, the flexibility to spam out Rens, sudden death is going to be doing a lot of pressure, and now it's just getting overall buffs to its main damage rotations. So yeah, Arms Warrior is looking absolutely crazy. Fury Warrior's sleeper right underneath it. The set bonuses for Fury Warrior are making it like you're pumping out instant cast Chaos Bolts a lot of the time. So that one's kind of riding under the radar as well. But Arms Warrior, you guys are going to eat in this patch for sure. If you're a warrior, you are definitely eating good. And now a pretty significant change to Battlegrounds overall. And I don't know why this wasn't included at the top, considering it's, pretty much exclusively for rated Battlegrounds, is that classes will be able to use Bloodlust, Heroism, Time Warp, Primal Rage, and Fury of the Aspects in rated Battlegrounds. Now, the one thing that this is going to benefit the most is likely Enhancement Shaman. Enhancement Shaman was probably one of the worst, not an Outlaw Rogue worse, but one of the worst classes for Battlegrounds. So the fact that you can at least bring Bloodlust now to the group is definitely going to increase your competitive viability. I'm wondering why this was removed in Battlegrounds in the first place. And it says for rated Battlegrounds. So was it you couldn't Bloodlust in normal rated Battlegrounds? Is this the Battleground Blitz? Does this mean you can Bloodlust in Battleground Blitz? The language here is a little bit misleading, right? I am assuming with the language this means that you can Bloodlust in both the Blitz and rated Battlegrounds. So again, it's going to help some specs that are struggling, Mage especially. Mage did not feel very strong in Battlegrounds, so especially with no voice or communications for CC. So Mage and Enhancement definitely benefit a lot from this change. So this is a nice way to pump them up, and they're going to feel desired in the group. Buffing up their Warlocks and Moonkins are likely going to dwarf them in a lot of damage. So honestly, I think this is going to make the Battlegrounds a lot more fun, having Bloodlust available. But also there are buffs and power-ups that let you reset your cooldowns. So is that going to reset Bloodlust? And what's the time on the sated or whatever? Is it around like a minute or something? Are you gonna be able to get multiple Bloodlusts in a Battleground? Or are you gonna have to really pick your moment? Which fight do you want to dedicate this to? I think it's gonna add a nice layer to Battlegrounds either way, and it's helping out specs that are likely going to be in a struggling position. Even Primal Rage for like Beast Mastery Hunter is gonna help Beast Mastery, although Beast Mastery is doing a lot of damage with Dire Beast, so I'm not too worried about it. But we got some changes overall. It's leaning a little bit in a bit worrisome direction with some of the changes. So hopefully, this is all going to get wrapped up and moved into 10.2 successfully with the other updates that they were talking about that they were going to be including. But other than that, that's it for this one. Thank you guys very much for hanging out, and I will see you in the next one.